All right. So anyway, my advisor, he contacts Heritage Auction House because that's where the treasure chest was. That's what some of these channels were saying. We know, we have that special information that you don't know. We're telling you something you didn't know about the treasure, the Forrest Fenn Chase, where it's going on today. So two different people, my advisor and Steve Klein, both in their own ways contact them. I've shown this on a previous video. I've shown the emails. And Heritage Auction House had no idea. They don't have the treasure chest, even though it was said by these different people in these channels that are trying to make money off. God, trying to make what, a couple of few $100s a month? Woo-hoo! Lying to you guys, and I guess in their own ways, thinking they're kind of in charge of the chase, and they're kind of like, we're the ones people turn to for information. They kind of get off on it, thinking, what a bunch of shit. It wasn't at the Heritage Auction House, so that falls away. That is no longer being touted as real. Just one thing after another. I mean, think of it. The GPS solve with the bronze sniffing dog, Yellowstone, 9 Mile Hole. The TC was bought by a group. Posey tried to buy it, but didn't. He failed. The entity outbid him. Does the entity have it? We don't know. The TC was the treasure chest is now in Texas. Oh, it was at the Heritage House. And then we have, before we get to the most ludicrous of all, because now they're trying to, I don't know where this is going to end. It could very well be that at some point one of these channels is going to come out with Forrest Fenn was a serial killer. They're going to find a serial killer maybe that has never been apprehended, and that's what it's going to be. Or it's going to be that Forrest Fenn, who knows, folks? It's just stupid, because I know I'm just repeating myself. And my blood pressure is probably up a little bit, but it's just, they're just trying to get views. They're just making up bullshit for you guys to watch their channels and subscribe and get enough views so they can make a goddamn couple of hundred or a few hundred. I don't know what they're making. It makes me wonder, because I'm not monetized. So you guys need to subscribe, because we got more stuff coming up. And if there's money to be made doing these YouTube videos, which I know there is, I'm beginning to wonder, everyone said YouTube has made it harder to make money, and they've reduce this and reduce that. But if these guys are willing to go through all these gyrations to make up crap, and I think in some cases probably are kind of working with each other to kind of create these little dramatic situations, are they really doing that just for a couple of few $100s a month? Maybe they're making big bucks. Whatever you consider big bucks. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So then we have the secret video, this absurd notion that Forrest Fenn was sitting by himself in New Mexico. Was he filming himself? Was someone else filming him? Was Forrest Fenn so adept at working with his phone or camera or something that he set up a video and he did a selfie video and talked to himself about what the 9 clues? Remember that? Talked to himself on camera. And then it was going to be that, people knew about this video and they had access to it. And I think, God, was Justin Posey involved in this too? Another thing, it's just so stupid. It's so ludicrous. And another thing is, these people, I was talking to someone online about it, and she was like, Eric, you're making it sound like they just care about making money and stuff. All of these people they have enough money, they don't need to do that. I'm going, why do you think that? Someone told me Justin Posey is supposedly really wealthy or something. Really? And he's doing this silly shit where he makes up stuff? I guess I am naming names, aren't I? Well, I've been naming names, but it just seems like everything he says never happens. And I'm thinking, this is the way a really wealthy guy spends his afternoons? Just kind of making up this stupid shit, or at the very least putting out claims that can't be proven. For what purpose? I just believe a lot of people do most things in life for money. I think when you see things that are bad going on, it's follow the money. It's like now with the vaccines. Do you ever wonder why the vaccines have just gone, people that get COVID, they get a natural immunity to it. Why aren't those people able to keep their jobs and stuff if they just say, I've had COVID. I've already been immunized by the COVID. Why is the vaccine so important? Now to the point where even little kids who are like almost naturally immune, I'm not immune, but they just hardly even get the disease anyway, the virus. Why is it so important these vaccines just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, even to people who are naturally immunized by having the COVID already? Oh, that's right, because these companies are making money. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, yeah, they put these vaccines out. They've done the R&D and stuff, sometimes in collaboration with the United States government to help them with the R&D costs. They're getting paid for all those vaccines that are going out, folks. It's always about the money. Always about the money. And of course, we know now that the country is, a lot of people are saying, fuck you, I'm not going to do your stupid vaccine. It's all about the money. It's always about the money. It's amazing how much. I've never been I've just never been that obsessed with money. But there are people who it's their entire life, their entire ego is dependent on how much money they have. And that's sad. Well, it's not sad. It's just the way it is. But it's not the way I am. So anyway, the secret video, right? A secret video. No proof. What secret video? Today people are like, who's even talking about it now? But it got you watching for a couple of weeks, right? The secret video. Forrest Fenn sitting there going, as I have gone in there alone, or whatever it is. I'm actually starting to forget the poem, which is probably a good, healthy thing. As I have gone alone in there? Is that it? As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can, oh my God, I can keep my secret where and hint of riches new and old. Is that it? Wow, it's still there. Kind of. Maybe if I mess it up a little bit. Okay, now we come to the dumbest, absolute stupidest. I mean, it's like they go through these constant iterations of the chase. Where it is today, and it just, we went from, okay, there's a GPS solve, and you watch them look for the GPS solve. And that was all kind of, I thought it was all bullshit. But the people are like, no, we're going to know where it really was. I still don't even know why that's important. I still don't know now why the chest, having been retrieved, it's important to know where it was. I guess I do have curiosity, yeah. Yeah, I would kind of like to know where it was. You're right. To be honest. But none of these were proven. So you watched, and then they were not able to prove it because, of course, nobody knows. Because only Jack and Shiloh and Forrest Fenn, who's dead, and those people know where the chest was. Nobody else knows. So they're kind of trying to make you, they have that secret knowledge of where it was or had been, but of course they can never prove it. So it's all just neither here nor there. So they've gone through that, and the 9 Mile Hole, and it was bought, and did the buy, and the entity outbid him, and it's in Texas. It's Heritage, and Heritage people checked, and no, it's not a Heritage auction house. And there was a secret video, and we don't know if there was a secret video, and if we haven't seen it, and we never will, of course. So now we come to the most absolutely absurd thing that some people are still pushing, D.B. Cooper. Forrest Fenn was D.B. Cooper. Do you know how utterly absurd that is? That is the stupidest fucking concept I have ever thought of in regard to Forrest Fenn. But Eric, someone said, the timelines are the same. Forrest Fenn and D.B. Cooper. What? What timelines? You heard that from someone, some charlatan who said it, so you believe it? What, you know where Forrest Fenn was? I know I'm repeating myself, going back ways in this video series. You know where Forrest Fenn was on November 24th, 1971? I defy you to tell me where Forrest Fenn was in 1971 on November 24th. You don't know. So don't tell me their timelines are the same, that you know D.B. Cooper and Fenn were the same person. We're going to get into D.B. Cooper now. And I'm going to prove you. And folks, everything I say, I know. There are people that are going to sit there and say, well, but this could have happened or that could have happened. Would you just remain in the land of common sense? Would you just get off the stoned, drunk, whatever you are, or just gullible or OCD obsessive person who can't let this go and just deal with reality? So I looked up D.B. Cooper on Wikipedia, and I know some people say, oh, Eric, Wikipedia, that's just kind of like people put in whatever they want stuff. Well, actually, they've gotten a little bit better with it. Just gave my yearly $5 donation to Wikipedia because they're pushing for donations. I like Wikipedia. I mean, yeah, I understand that it's a little bit like, well, it used to be people could just add kind of notes and kind of beef up the story, but I think it's gotten a lot more fact-checked. But anyway, they draw from very reputable sources to make their case in Wikipedia. So I use Wikipedia to come up with this. And the most obvious thing about D.B. Cooper and Forrest Fenn is that they don't look anything alike. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's like the first thing you would think of, right? When you would investigate something like Forrest Fenn's D.B. Cooper. So you look at Forrest Fenn, and, he's very pale, very white, blue eyes. D.B. Cooper, whose real name is Dan Cooper, was described as swarthy, meaning his skin was somewhat dark, with brown eyes. That's by witnesses. I mean, it's just as obvious as it can get. I got to tell you a story. I lived in Texas for years, and this was a story that happened in a small town in Texas. And what it was there was a kid that lived in this small town in Texas. I lived in Arlington, Dallas, Fort Worth area, kind of the hub. And but I was reading the paper one day back when they had actual newspapers, and it was a story about this small town where there had been this kid who was on the basketball team. He was almost 7 foot. Now, if you're almost 7 foot, you're going to stand out anywhere, but in a small town, you're really going to stand out. So this kid, it's a black kid, by the way. I want to make that clear because it has something to do with the story. He was almost 7 foot. So anyway, very tall kid, basketball player. And known. I mean, he was known to the town. Small towns, they track what's going on with their football and their basketball. So this kid was I don't know if he was a star per se, but he was known, in the community because of being on the basketball team, whichever way the basketball team was doing. He was a known commodity in the area. So anyway, one day a convenience store gets robbed. This is where the newspaper article came in. And the police, they're talking to the witnesses, and they said, well, it was these two black guys that were wearing masks. but one of them was like almost 7 foot tall. So, they're kind of like, the police are going, I think we know who we're talking about. And sure enough, they went out. The end of the story is that they go find this kid, and they, in the course of investigation, they find his partner, and he was a black kid, and he was almost 7 foot tall. And he eventually got busted for the crime because they were able to put it all together. But someone asked this kid, did it not occur to you that your obvious height would kind of clue people to the fact that it was you, even though you're wearing a mask? And his response was, different guy. It must have been a different guy. Now, I know some of you out there are going, well, Eric, it could have been a different guy. Well, Eric, and that's what I keep running into with this crap, with this Chase community, these gullible people that are following. They're all, well, Eric, I mean, there's a timeline. And you're going, what timeline? There is no timeline that puts Forrest Fenn and D.B. Cooper in the same place. Well, yeah, there is, because I was watching the video by one of the charlatans, and they said it, they can't, none of it's, it's like, didn't you know they were going to figure it was you pretty quick? And he's like, well, it must have been a different guy. I don't know, folks. Okay, so let's, first of all, Dan Cooper is the guy who bought a ticket to be on the plane. And witnesses saw Dan Cooper without the famous sunglasses. That we keep seeing that same photo of Dan Cooper with the sunglasses obscuring his eyes. No, actually, many people saw him. Okay? So Dan Cooper was the guy who got on the plane and jumped off the plane. Who is D.B. Cooper? D.B. Cooper was a suspect. They're going through a list of people that may have been Dan Cooper, the FBI, right? And one of the first people they set their sights on was a guy named D.B. Cooper. Okay? A newspaper journalist being so intelligent, we now know with watching the news, they're just a bunch of frauds. They can't even figure out. I mean, they're just not the brightest people in the world. But this is way back in 71. A journalist, when you kind of had real journalists, you don't now, but now they're just all political hacks. They're just working for the Democratic Party or whatever. Literally saw a guy who was interviewed who said every morning, I forget where he worked at the Post or something. He said every morning he gets an email from Schumer, and Schumer sends talking points to the press about things they want them to talk about. It's like incredible. It's like, really? Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like the Democratic Party actually tells the press what to talk about every day. They do. Anyway, back to 1971. So this idiot reporter confuses a suspect, D.B. Cooper, with Dan Cooper, and that's how the name D.B. Cooper came about, because it was reported that the guy who hijacked the plane and jumped off it with $200,000, his name was D.B. Cooper, when in fact the guy who bought a ticket was Dan Cooper. This will make a little bit more sense in a minute when we get to another issue. Oh, folks, we're going on to part, I don't even know at this point. We're going on to a different part, so let's go on to a different part.